How dare you? Of course. There you go, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so today is the 17th, all day long.
Oh, that's funny.
And we are talking, well, I hope it doesn't change in the middle of the day. We're talking about surface area. Now, here's the thing. Cylinders are just prisms with infinitely many edges. So, the formulas are really the same thing. They're just like, we use two different formulas to make it a little bit easier for you. But as I was discussing before, some of us got into class. Hey guys. Sorry, apologies.
Push her into the face. You're joking right now? Hi guys.
That's the best apology. Down to work, guys. All right. As we were discussing before a few of you came into class, you don't really need to remember any formulas unless you choose to. You can really derive them as you go, because when we talk about surface area, it's just the area of all faces combined. When we talk about volume, it's just the entire space inside of it. So we will talk about these formulas, but you don't really have to memorize them if you can just remember a few little key parts. So, lateral and surface areas of the prism. What's the difference between the lateral and the surface area? What does lateral area mean? Yeah, Brian?
One of the faces, or the base. It's the area of base.
Not quite.
Okay.
So the area of the base gets involved in the surface area. What face? Like, every side's a face. The faces that are not bases. So the lateral faces are the ones that go around the shape. The bases are the bottom and the top. And, well, okay, so shapes exist in the 3D world. We can move them, we can rotate them, we can change how they sit. The base is determined by the name of the prism. So if it's a square prism, you got to have a square on your base. Triangular prism, triangle's got to be the base. Circular prism, that's a cylinder. So, same thing here. Lateral area is the area all the way around it, where the surface area then adds in two of the bases, the bottom circle and the top circle. Any questions on difference between lateral and surface area? Lateral is the faces that are not bases. So here we have a rectangular prism. We're going to use the 3 and 4 edged rectangle for the base. So we want to calculate the surface area. So start by finding your lateral area or by finding your base. It's like an either or, neither's right, or both are right. It just depends on what you want to do. So we know the sum of all the faces is going to be the lateral area plus 2 of the bases. So then we can, like off to the side, say, okay, what's the area of a base? Well, how could I find the area of a base? The quicker we get through this, the more time you guys have for homework. Because I'd like to just pound through lessons and then give you homework time.
Base times height of the base.
Yeah, so whatever 2 dimensions we have. So be careful using height because depending on perspective, people will argue it's not height. So whatever 2 dimensions you have. Doesn't matter what we call them. But sure, you can call them base times height. For here, what are those dimensions? Keep going then.
Alright, 3 and 4.
3 and 4. So 3 times 4, we find out the base area is 12, and that would be centimeters squared. We then need to find the lateral area. The lateral area has its own specific formula, but we don't have to use it. So who can talk on what it would be if we use the formula versus if we don't use the formula? Caleb?
I think if we use the formula, it'd be quicker, per se, but I don't think you necessarily need to use it. You can go, I assume there's a longer way to do it.
Yeah.
And that way it might be a bit more, easy to think out, but the equation is just a quicker and more snappy way
Yeah.
to do it.
So without using the formula, we literally look at each face and add them together. But with using the formula, we look at it all as one big space. So which is more efficient? Using the formula. If you forget the formula, just do each face on its own, add them up. But if we know the formula, that's your perimeter times your height, because the perimeter goes all the way around the base, which is going to give you the distance or the width or the length or whatever you want to call it of all 4 of your lateral faces together, or however many you have, it will give you all of them. So here, that's 3 and 4 and 3 and 4, which gives me a perimeter of, what did you say? 14. The height is then really, that height is just distance between bases, because it's not always going to actually be how tall it is. So be careful thinking about height. It's really just your distance between bases. Here, the distance between bases is 5. When we do 14 times 5, we can break it up. 5 times 10 and 5 times 4. We get 70. So then I come back over here and I plug in. We have 70 plus 12.
No.
Why? What mistake did I make? It's 2 times the base. This is where people fall in the trap. We found the area of one base. You can either double it before you put it in, or notate 2 times 12. So then I know that's 70 plus 24, and that becomes a final 94 centimeters squared. This should be review from Math 8. Really, this should have started in Math 7. So now, this is where we're talking about the height is not actually how tall it is. So we need to find the surface area of this triangular prism. So we're going to need the lateral area and we're going to need the base area. What's the issue with this image? And this is where we step from the Math 8 skills to Math 1, Math 2 skills. Megan?
You have to find the height of the triangle.
Have to find the height of the triangle. Now, I was waiting for somebody to ask, is this a right triangle? Well, could a 5, 5, 6 be a right triangle? No. So we can drop, that was terrible. We can drop a height, which then, can anyone see it?
Oh, it's a 3, 5, 4.
It's a 3, 4, 5 because this bottom edge becomes 3. My hypotenuse is 5, which means my height must be 4. So if that doesn't work out so perfectly, we can solve it out. But are we all cool on how we know this is a 3, 4, 5? It's the most famous right triangle. If you see a 3 and a 5, it kind of just fall into the 4. So base area, might as well start there. Who can help me? Go ahead.
Oh wait, so then you would do 6 times 5 divided by 2.
What?
What?
Times 5? Why times 5?
No. It's like, it's 6 times 4 divided by 2.
Quit rushing yourself, man.
Yeah.
1/2
I corrected you.
the 6 times the 4, or 6 times 4 then divided by 2. So 6 times 4 is 24, half of that. We get 12 again for the base area. Michelle?
It's just 24 in the end because you have to multiply it by 2 again for the other.
So this comes down to technique. You can either half your base here, or just initially know that if you want to solve for your 2b, don't do the half. So it depends on how you want to do it. Stop. If we just solve for b, then we got to do the half. But eventually, then I double this value. So that comes down to your technique. I'm going to go very straight-laced the way that we're meant to go. If you want to go ahead and calculate 2b, totally fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. So then we can calculate our lateral area. I should just get cards probably, shouldn't I? Rhea, what do I do now?
You find the lateral area, which is the perimeter times the height.
So my perimeter of my base here,
30.
ooh, that's That's why we got to be careful.
Never mind, do the triangle.
Ah, my base is the triangle.
Yeah,
So we take the perimeter of that,
which is 16.
16, times the distance between the bases. Here is, you can keep going if you want.
Oh, 4. No, it's
Distance between bases.
12.
See, that's why I don't like using height. Really, when you write down that H, just be thinking distance between bases. So we do 16 times 12, that would be 160 plus another 32, 192.
That turns out to be 216.
Boom. When we double this to get our 2b, and then combine, my final surface area is 216. Label it.
Wait,
Centimeters.
yeah, didn't we do this in? I think I remember doing this in Math 7. So is this
Well, except in Math 7, you would not have had to derive the height of the triangle.
Oh, okay.
So this is like, then we're going to be given problems that pull in more of the Math 1, Math 2 skills. This is just like dip your toe in, start remembering how we did this. So try that on your own for problem 2. Let's see if we can avoid any mistakes. Question answer.
No, it was just, I'm just saying you know one of the sides because it said like the 3, 4, 5 is already set up for you.
Ooh, yeah. So one thing that we can fill in immediately is that this edge is 5, which also that edge is 5. Very much appreciate it if you would act like you give a darn. Straveler, what'd you do first here?
I tried to find the base.
Like the area of the base?
That's what
What values are you going to use to do that?
me,
Yeah.
myself.
Or anybody solving it correctly.
I'm going to use 5 and let me look at this.
So to solve for a triangle, we know we got to have the triangle base and the triangle height. What do we know about a triangle base and height?
That
How do they
is
interact?
The 3, 4, 5 triangle.
Yeah, but which edges are the base and height?
The base is 3,
Okay, what's the height?
4.
So why'd you say you use the 5?
Well, I was trying to reference up to problem 1 and when
So what that tells me is, did you solve this yet?
not yet. No.
So, what are you doing?
I was trying to think about this one, the problem 1 and how it would kind of help me with problem 2.
Okay, so are we good? Are we confused?
Yeah, I was just trying to reference up to this one, which I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm
Yeah,
good.
don't get yourself in a trap.
Yeah.
They're similar, they're not the same.
Right.
So we got to set up 1/2 times the base and the height, the 3 and the 4.
Alright.
3 and the 4 is 12, half of it,
6.
6.
Or we could keep it.
We then need our lateral area. Megan, how do I find my lateral area here?
You do the perimeter of the triangle, which is 12, and multiply by the height 6.
It's definitely not drawn to scale, this image. Get 72. Double your base.
Why not?
Well, this 6 compared to that 5, just to me, it seems like this 6 is kind of way tall. But maybe it's just my eyes and
But I
my
think
angle.
it might be the perspective.
Yeah, I'm kind of right on top of it. When we add these up, our surface area comes out to be.
I think it would be times 2 on 12.
Huh. Oh, no. So I meant to write times 2 equals 12. Yeah, good catch. So then we add these up for our surface area. Yes, much appreciated.
Might wanna.
A little misleading there. Any questions to this
Chapter,
point?
Why do you capture the images?
So that if
I upload the
Oh.
PDFs, but the PDFs are already uploaded from the previous years. So like if you guys ever need anything that's not there, let me know, but it should already be there since
So like
this
all
course
the
is.
images that you capture, you put on Schoology?
Yeah, they end up in a PDF. So it's not a smart file, it's that PDF file, that's right. So right, what we were looking at with those chapter 9 videos, like this right here is all those captured images
Oh.
just from last year. So it's the same problems, so it's the same solutions.
Okay.
Now we step up
I didn't know.
to polygon prisms. Not just quadrilaterals or triangles, which yes, those are polygons, but many-sided. So this gets a tidbit harder because to find the area of the base, what do we have to do to deal with this hexagon? Split it up how? Yeah, we split it into triangles. So the first thing we want to do, kind of pizza slice it. Then, well, I normally put my pepperonis before I slice it. But. So still, though, do I have what I need, or can I find what I need? This is what I'm talking about with the Math 2 skills we have to apply. Do you know, Caleb?
It has something to do with what we did earlier. I wish I remember. It has to do something about the angles because it's a regular polygon.
So
I
if
forget
I,
Yeah.
this is drawn
Oh, no, I was
poorly.
referring to the
Forgive
angle
me.
measures because it's a regular polygon, which then means you can find out if it's a.
So I know that my edges are 6. So if I draw or drop a vertical, that splits it into 3s. Michelle, what are you thinking?
Well, if you look at the triangle, the top of the triangle is the angle is 60, and then
Yeah, this whole
split
angle.
it in half. It's 30, 60, 90.
So then this becomes 30, which leaves my base angle as a 60. Then, now that it's a 30, 60, 90, how does that relate? Megan?
Well, isn't it an equilateral triangle then? So all of the sides are 6. So you don't have to use 30, 60, 90 rules. You can use Pythagorean.
So whether we go 30, 60, 90, and we realize that the hypotenuse is twice the base or the short leg, or we realize that we have 60, 60, 60, and here's the only issue there. That gives me these edges.
Yeah, but then you can use Pythagorean.
Ah, so then I could use Pythagorean. But if I'd use 30, 60, 90, how do I find that height?
Special rules thing.
What is it, radical?
Radical.
Because it's got the 30 degree, it's radical 3 times the short leg, right? So I don't even know how to color code this. My long leg here will be rad 3 times
3.
I saw an angry look. It is rad 3, right? Or is it rad 2?
It's red 3.
Yes,
Yeah,
right, 3.
because remember, we use rad 2 when we have 2 of the identical when it's a 45, 45, 90. Rad 3 because the 30, 60, 90. So that gives me my triangle height. There's a decent amount to do here. So now I gotta find the area of that triangle. And that'll be 1/2 the base of 6, because this entire base of 6, times the height of radical 3 times 3.
Oh boy. That's a lot, man.
do what's easy. Half of 6 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So we can really get 9 radical 3. But then that's only this much
So it has to be times 6.
of the base. So then we do times 6 to compensate for the rest of the base.
54 rad 3.
And that's going to be 54 rad 3.
Yeah.
Now it says round to the nearest whole number, so we might as well go ahead and approximate this as a decimal. So what is 54 radical 3 in decimal form?
93.53. Yeah.
Then you could leave that in your calculator. Or sorry, no, that's if we're doing volume. We'll get there. Now we got to do my lateral area. Or right now, sorry, this is the if you leave it in your calculator, go ahead and find out what 2b is. So 2b, if you just double that value while it sits in your calculator, what are you going to get?
187.0614.
187. Whole numbers.
Yeah, we'll get to the rounding. I don't round till the end. You can round right now if you want, but occasionally once you add, you'll end up bumped up.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, because this will get a whole number,
Yeah.
right? Our next, but that's the only time that I would say wait till the end. But now we do lateral area. My perimeter is
36.
36 because it's that 6 times 6 for my perimeter times the distance between the bases. So we get 36 times 12, which is
432.
what is it?
432.
432 for my lateral area. I add that with my 87.06. I found out that my total surface area, sorry that I'm kind of writing everywhere,
619.
619 meters squared.
Well, technically it's 14872.
Questions? Long process. I understand. That's why I gave you guys the smaller amount of homeworks.
How small? Like how much time?
They're all the Ks. Like they're all the easier options. Like 20 or under questions on most of them.
That's not that bad.
No, 39.
Why 39? You just 40 makes it bad?
40 felt like too much.
All right, so now cylinders. We'll do this real quick, then hopefully you guys have a few minutes for your homework because I'm running out of time. Yeah, my recording time would be close. I've filled up my hard drive on my computer again.
Ow.
So, because these recordings are huge, the radius of the base of the cylinder is 4 inches. Its height is 6, or the distance between the bases. What is the surface area of the cylinder in terms of pi? Always pay attention when it's asking things in terms of pi, because that makes your life easier. So, first thing we want to do, Max, what do you think? First thing we want to do.
I would find the area of one of the bases.
Love it. How do you find the area of a circle?
Pi r squared.
Pi times radius squared. Again, skills that you learned back in Math 7 and Math 8. So, my radius squared here is going to be
16.
So we get that to be 16 pi. Then I could go ahead if I want to and double that. 2b will be 32 pi if you want that written down somewhere. Now my lateral area. This is where things get slightly different. The lateral area for this prism, and yes, I'm calling it a prism to relate back to our other formula. If we look at perimeter times height,
Wouldn't that just be circumference?
it's really just circumference times height. So this becomes, and if you look back up at the formula, it seems like, oh no, all that formula is giving you is the formula for circumference. So they do, how do I find circumference?
Diameter times pi.
2 times pi times radius, or pi d, times the height. So when you look at that formula, they have 2 times pi times r times h. Looks like a lot. It's just circumference times height. So we really get 8 pi times the height of 6 8 times 6?
48.
48 pi.
That's a lot of pi, man.
32 is 80.
We add these up.
Get 18.
The 2b plus the lateral area, which is 32 pi. Go ahead and try the got it on your own. Make sure you label it's 80 pi inches squared.
I think pi should be its own unit.
It kind of is when you talk about radians. Like radians don't have a unit until you know what the radius is. What are you talking about, this paint roll? I've never seen a roller that would ever be able to do this.
That'd be
No,
cool
that's
though.
impossible.
It would-
No,
no.
it's not.
No, it would
If you
just
had,
have
like,
really,
Yeah,
really
you're
precise.
Plastic inserts or rubber, like, or something weird.
They'd have to.
Or they could just have
there'd
like a
have to be
divot
rules
there
in
with
the
a paint.
wall.
Right.
I don't like that.
And wouldn't you want to like go over the paint again?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah,
Just
no
the
paint
final
rolls
touch
that like
is the-
nicely on the first time.
I like that you guys have actually painted
And
things.
you'd have to
I
be
had to
very
paint
careful
almost
When
every room.
when you go back to start rolling again after you run out of paint, you'd have to be really careful to get the thing to.
Line up.
Yeah.
It'd be
Or
horrible.
you could just do like
I would
splits.
never volunteer for a project like
Just
that.
like one
I'll
giant
go
What
at a
if you
time.
run out of paint on the paint roller before you?
Alright, Ethan, help me walk through this. We want to find our base. Our base here is going to be a...
105.
Oh, well, so it's a circle, right? So you took your radius and you squared it times pi, which gives you 10 squared pi, or 100 pi.
And then your so 2b is 200 pi,
Yeah, so 2b will be 200 pi.
and then the to find
Lateral.
the circumference, you have to find the diameter, or just use the radius. But
Either way.
so it'd be 20 pi, and that's the perimeter of the base, and then you take the perimeter of the base and multiply it by the distance between the bases.
Mm-hmm, which here is.
9 centimeters.
So we get
185.
Yep. I have 180 pi. I have 200 pi. Together,
380.
the surface area will be 380 pi centimeters squared. Make sure you label even beyond that pi. Questions, Michelle?
For the next one, 2.5 is the diameter, right? Not the radius. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, if we think realistically, I don't think we're gonna have a 5-inch roller. So yeah, 2.5 we'll use as diameter. Sorry, that's really hard to see even on my screen, not even just in your print.
You're moving extremes.
You're what? I know, I'm sorry. So, you wanna talk me through this, Michelle?
Sure. Okay. So, well, 2.5 is already the radius times 2. So, 2.5 times 6. Well, 2.5 pi times 6 would then be 15 pi.
So you're saying the circumference is 2.5 pi because we already know the diameter. So then, if to do lateral area is where you're actually starting then, you said it's 2.5 pi times the 6.
All they want.
Hmm?
Lateral area is all
Oh yeah, it is all they want. Sorry. I get so excited. I want to solve everything. And honestly, when you're painting, you cover the ends of the roller. It ends up happening. So what do you get?
15 pi.
15 pi
Inches squared.
inches squared.
Alright,
But it
is
doesn't
it's
say
not
it
in
in
But
terms
look
of
that they
pi,
don't
so
say what
I also
It
have
doesn't say
47.
if it has to be in pi or if it has to be in any.
So, in
I
that
also
case,
put
I'd
down
accept either.
47.
No, I was
Okay.
they were
I
like,
yeah.
"Ugh," I'm like,
But I'm just saying, like, I would take either. That's fine. We could say approximately it's 45-ish inches squared. Be a little bit more since pi is a little bit over 3.
It's 47.123.
47.12.
123.
0.12389.
Oh.
Oh, well, we'll just stop at 1. Well, I can't stop there.
No, but it's
Because then it would need to round. Unless we're truncating, which doesn't round accurately.
What's
We
truncate?
truncate.
If you want, like for that one, since it's,
'cause you got this
it'd be better if it was like 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. I like when sets of numbers do interesting things like that.
Well, it's 8, 9.
I know, but okay, I don't care. You don't like what I like. You don't have to like what I like.
We're missing 6 and 7.
You don't
I know, but never mind. You don't have to agree with my brain. Do we need to do the Goddard or do we have a firm understanding?
I got it.
Got it?
Did you
Wait, I have the answer.
Oh, you have it?
I got
What is it?
3.75 pi, but I didn't have a calculator. So I did it.
11.8.
There you go. Wait, it's kind of cool.
Inches squared.
Lazy.
So, peeps.
Oh my god.
Peeps.
Peoples.
Dude, that was really rad.
Dude, that was really hippie.
That was tubular.
Ooh, I like
These
that
are
one.
all of your homeworks for the chapter.
I
How
think
many
it's hard
are in
to
this
do
chapter?
it.
5. It's really not that bad.
Mr. Hudson, do you want to read some Jewish scripture with me?
I do not know how to read.
Don't worry,
Hebrew.
it's translated.
Sleepy.
Yes, you want to read
That's
some
what
with me?
they-
I will protect my job and say that separation of church and state probably prohibits me from doing